CLion a cross-platform IDE for C and C++. Download now.
I thought I'd call this Forte. Maybe 1 in 10 of these will be funny. The other day, my text editor, AI Mo, said, "They're really paying you to write this crap." I thought, that's a bit harsh. And then I remembered I'd enabled dark mode. I've started creating a typeface where each glyph is a different page from Wikipedia. It's going to be the font of all knowledge. If Bitcoin is value realized as ones and zeros, does that make it gold Boolean? Have you ever noticed that people in the tri-state area never give you a straight yes/no answer? If I join the front-end channel and the back-end channel and the database channel and the operations channel, does that make me a full Slack developer? Now we're working from home a bit more, I think it's important to get my kids involved with my coding. I call it au-pair programming. Pair programming in C++ isn't that, it's actually quite difficult. You end up with a codebase that's littered with .first and .second. Our company is a big fan of the pimple idiom. Started hiring spotty teenagers to do some vibe coding. I've always thought that algorithms that round down to the nearest integer are inherently flawed. One of the bits of advice I got when I first started programming in C++ was, if you're ever unsure, do as the ints do. So I always make sure my programs behave slightly differently on different platforms. Is a polyglot a programmer that brags about how many programming languages they know? I once asked our enterprise architect if they had any non-functional requirements. They said, sure, you can't use Elm or Haskell or Lisp or F#. I mean, I think they were object-oriented. I mean, everything we asked for, you just object. I've noticed that Google have delayed the next major release of their favorite programming language. I guess that they've taken to heart the advice from Dijkstra that Goto is considered harmful. I was really pleased when I found out that Sir Tony Hoare and Dennis Ritchie had organized a talk where they were talking about 2 of their most important contributions to computer science. But then I was really disappointed when my tickets turned up and it said that they were null and void. Have you noticed how people who are print certified want to manage projects like it's 1999? Thank you, Pete. I recently tried using an LLM to write code to produce digital certificates, but it just made a hash of it. Our InfoSec team asked us if we did key rotation and said, sure. Whenever we generate a new key, we use rot13. I once had a debate with Alonso, the guy that created the Lambda calculus, about whether lambdas and closures were the same thing. That's when I discovered there was a clear separation between church and state. This guy Sisyphus is a really terrible DBA. Everything he does gets rolled back. In the battle between relational and document-oriented databases, I think when SQL added the pivot function, that's when the tables were turned. We've also just hired a prompt engineer. I mean, it's great that he turns up at 9 AM sharp, but basically he spends the rest of the day playing with a PS1 variable in his bash shell. Off by 1 errors, no bounds. The Wildlife Trust has asked for our codebase to be considered a conservation area on account of the number of bugs. The product owner said to me, all these acceptance tests only cover the happy path. I said, yeah, they're rose-tinted specs. The marketing department said we needed to be more disruptive. So I dropped the database and deleted all the source code. The other day I met a guy typing fast and furiously to get out of his text editor. I think his name was Vim Diesel. I think my colleagues think it's much better when I do these puns in person. At least I think that's what they meant by "you're not remotely funny."